Hello, everyone. My name's Jensen Klein, and this is my final video for Finance 335. Today I'll be completing and showing you problem 3 from chapter 16. Um, as you can see, I include a little screenshot of it right here. And yeah, let's go get ahead and get into it. The premise of this problem is using the get and transform function as well as pivot tables. Um, Get and transform function is important because it lets you pull messy data from different sources and clean it automatically. Instead of fixing the same problems over and over, you're able to build steps once and Excel repeats them for you. It saves time, cuts down errors, and keeps our data consistent. Um, so for this function, I originally tried to use the ETF XLSX workbook from the textbook, but it didn't work, so I had to source my own data. I sourced this data from a company called Yahoo Finance, and I'll go ahead and show you how I did this right now. So I go to the data tab, get data. I use the ODate data function and simply pasted my URL right there, and it spits out this, which is nice. As you can see, it nicely organizes the data. However, we can still clean it up a little more simply because we don't need all these columns for this problem. So I'll go ahead and show you how to do that right now. Um, this problem would like us to keep symbol, so AUM can go, price can go, change can go, all these columns can go. Over here, we don't need the expense ratio, and we can get rid of the focus. So obviously we don't want to delete these in case we might have use for them some other time. So we'll go ahead and just hide them for now. And there you go. Nice and cleaned up data. Um, so now let's go ahead and create an average column for these 3 years of return. So go ahead and name it 3-year average. Turn. And the formula for this is actually quite simple. Simply use the average function, select our 3 years of return, and boom. Something I've also noticed about this get and transform function is that even adding rows or numbers, it automatically formats it nicely. However, color-wise and font-wise, however, I like this to be a little cleaner, so I'll go ahead and turn this to a percentage, as well as give it 2 decimals. Let's see what the problem requires us to do next. Um, so now we will go ahead and use a pivot table. Pivot tables are important because they let you summarize huge datas in sets in seconds without writing formulas. You can filter, rearrange data instantly to see different insights. It turns our numbers into clear patterns like totals, averages, trends. In short, these tables give you quick, flexible analysis without any mental calculations. Um, so to make our first data table, I will go ahead and, too much, select my table to make sure I got everything in there. Insert tab, pivot table, make sure new worksheets selected so we can keep this nice and clean. And we'll go ahead and select our asset class as well as our new column 3-year average return. Go ahead and bring these asset classes to rows. Here we are. As we can see, or we'll go through them in a second. I personally like to clean up just a little bit more so it's nice and easy to read on the eyes. Go ahead and change this to Times New Roman. It's important that I don't forget to turn these to an average and percentage. And there we have it. So as you can see, actually, first of all, let's sort these two from largest to smallest. So now we can clearly see that equity has the highest return. This is most likely due to a inflated market. As we can see, the fixed income is the lowest. This is because fixed income is a stable investment and pretty much stays the same despite market fluctuations. So awesome. Now that we got that, we'll go back to our problem and see. Okay, something I glossed over, which I'd like to address, is the 3-year average return. So just looking and having this fund name is so helpful because we can see what sector it is in, what type of company is it. So as we can see, our highest, we'll go ahead and make this also. Okay, it is already highest to lowest. Awesome. Oh, there's a little different ones. As we can see, this is clearly our biggest technology. That makes sense because there's a lot of growth in technology. We can scroll through them. Typical one, the S&P 500, that's about more the average. And it makes sense because, it is an average, it's an index fund. So as you can see, there's another index fund, it's a little lower here. And our lowest appears to be this one, which is an energy. Kind of surprising, but as you can see, in 2018 and 2017, they took negative returns, so must have been a tough couple years for them. Awesome. And now we're gonna go ahead and make our way down to D. We will now create a pivot chart for those top 3 performing asset classes. Did I miss anything? Oh, yes. We will also add a asset class column. Go ahead and label this asset class average return. And simply we just want to match. I'm going to go ahead and do the filter tab so I can, oh, I can go ahead and get them individually. So we'll start with the highest one, which was equity. As you can see, the number is a lot more detailed than just 1477. So I like to get as accurate as a number as I can anytime I'm in Excel. Now we will do commodities. And luckily there are only 2 of them. So we'll select this number. Go ahead and paste that. And lastly, fixed income, which is our smallest asset class average return. Oh, it had it. You can also do that. And there we go. So now we have our full table with our 3-year average return as well as our asset class average correlating to the asset class. And awesome, that looks good. So let's go back to D, create that bar chart. We'll do this by selecting our data, going to inserts, choosing our bar chart, and now we get a visual representation. I'll go ahead and name this asset class average return chart. Go ahead. I personally like to add a legend at the right. As well as data labels. And can also make this from largest to smallest, starting from the bottom to the top. Lastly, we'll make these units a little bigger just so there's less of them. Perfect. And I'll be right back. So, trying to make the legend correlate to each of these. To do so, the only way I know is to change the colors. And there we have it. Yeah, I also added those data labels, so now I can clearly see these numbers. And yeah, there's our bar chart. You can add axes if you'd like, but I think for this purpose, we don't need them. So back to the question. So now that we've completed D, we can move on to E. So our goal is to show a field that shows the ETF's 3-year return minus the asset class 3-year return and compare the funds. Additionally, I'll also show it from smallest to greatest. So let's go ahead and add a new column. We'll go ahead and call this comparison to benchmark, and hopefully it matches the format, which it awesomely did. So this formula is also fairly easy. We'll go ahead and take the 3-year average return minus the average. And wow, it also drags it all down for you, which is really nice. So now we can see their return versus their asset class average, which the technology sector fund is still the highest and the energy selector is still the lowest, which means that they are performing far lower than their asset class, which is not great if you're an investor. Um, so yeah, I love this. I love this problem because it's very practical. Jobs in finance, internships I've had, I've used the get and transform function many times, and it's great to see and compare data. So we'll go ahead and make sure everything is right one more time. Everything is correct. And create another pivot table from the data set. Then calculate. Okay, I will be right back because I don't believe we are finished. All right, so looks like I got everything finished up from the question. I kind of did my own thing with this column K because I wasn't quite sure how to create the comparison to benchmark um, without having the asset class change. So yeah, like I said, I love these. It's really cool to see all these sectors that have a lot of growth. But yeah, thank you so much for listening, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day and semester.